Okay, hello everybody. This is another edition of the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene, seen on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperatives Channel 18, and we for the first time in our brief history, we have some guests here, and we have, of course, the head coach of the Bledsoe County Warriors, Dwayne Tabor, and we have two other players. I want them to introduce themselves.
I'm Sam Agee, and I play for Bledsoe County.
I'm Jay Strands, and I also play for Bledsoe County.
Okay, there's two of the star players on our team. Of course, everybody's a star on that team, of course. And Coach, welcome to the broadcast. We're glad to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We're excited about being here.
Yeah, Coach, you're 4-2. You had two good victories. Of course, you had over Tellico Plains last Friday night, 42-7, and then you had it over Wartburg, 42-20. And obviously, your team is improving every week, getting better and better.
Well, that's our goal. We feel good about where we're at right now. Obviously, we'd like to be 6-0, but that doesn't always work out. But I'm pleased with the progress that we're making. We've got a lot of good young players that are still learning to play. But fortunately, we've got Sam and Jace who have been good leaders for us. And our senior class is not big, but what they bring to the table is very beneficial to us every Friday.
Obviously, they have done wonders this season, leading into record. Of course, this Friday night you got homecoming against Whitwell, 6-0, probably for the first time since their state championship run several years ago. And obviously, they're going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, anytime you play a team that's 6-0, it doesn't matter who they've played or supposedly who they hadn't played. They're still 6-0. But we look forward to those kind of challenges. That's one thing that we talk about. We like big games, and we've talked also this week. Nobody wants to lose their homecoming game, so that adds more motivation to it as well. So we're excited and we look forward to it.
Pink Out Night, as a matter of fact, they stood to celebrate Cancer Awareness Month, which is in October, and of course we like to urge the fans to show up for that, wear pink in support of cancer research. I know how it is because I lost my mother and my sister to cancer, and it's a devastating thing to have to go through for those who suffer from, and the family members as well. And we encourage everybody here. Bradley, you got some questions you want to ask?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions here. We'll save the best one to last.
All right,
but.
Start at the end, Bradley.
One thing I thought about, I always wanted to ask you is when you came back to Bledsoe County, things were a little shaky. I mean, we went through a coaching change 3 years in a row. How are you able to get the kids in the community to come together the way they have now and support the way they are?
Yeah, well, I think it's been a process, and I think the inconsistency of not having a head coach in place for consecutive seasons probably made it a little bit tougher. But our kids, man, they've been great. And so when I got here, the first thing I did was meet with all of our players in the auditorium, anybody interested to play. And one of the first things I told them is, I'm not here to be your friend. And I don't know how that came across exactly, but I did tell them, I'm here to be your football coach. Right. And we're going to get good at football, and we're going to be the best that we can be and be the best version of ourselves. We're going to have a high standard. So the first thing we done was established a standard, and we talk about it almost every single day, that we want to practice and work at a championship level, because just to give yourself a chance to be successful, you need to have a high standard, and there's no higher standard than to play for a championship. So whether you get there or not, there's only one team that wins a state championship every year. You have to establish that standard. And the next thing was going throughout the community and just talking about our program and talking about our vision and our goals and what we wanted to do. And our quarterback club has been great. Our community has been great. They've supported us in a lot of different ways. I mean, from the first day to now, we've got so many more new helmets in place, and we're wearing, Speed Flex helmets. We've got great equipment on our practice field. We've got a brand new weight training facility that we've been in for about a year now. So we're making a lot of progress, and we still want to make more progress on the field, but I'm excited about the direction that we're headed. And our coaching staff has done great. We've got a bunch of good young guys, man, and they're just full of fire and passion, and they love blue and gold. And I was fortunate to pick those guys up, and then we've got a couple more that's came in with us. And I told those coaches early on, I said, our best PR is going to be our players. I said, those players are going to talk about what we're doing. So we're starting something new. I'm starting something new. They don't really know me. So what they say will be our best PR. Doesn't matter what we say. It matters how we coach these kids and how we love on them, so to speak. Whether it's tough love or whether it's kind love, and there's going to be some of both. And our kids have bought in, and we're just going to continue to try to improve as much as we can.
I've noticed because I played football with your brother Nick.
Yep.
And the community was involved in, and I can remember what it was like, but comparing that for the last several years to now, it's a whole new dynamic. It seems like you've got players, coaches, quarterback club, community, everybody's on the same page. Yeah. And the records speak for themselves. It's the success that you've had, you guys have had, has really shows what the community and the school coming together can do, and that helps with our feeder program, Little Blue, middle school, and all of those things. So I'm tickled to see that. And y'all are doing a great job, by the way. Since I hadn't got to formally tell you that, I'll tell you now. You've done a great job, and you guys have done a great job as well. I've watched you guys grow over the last 4 years, and remember y'all playing Little Blue. But I wasn't fortunate enough to coach you guys, but I remember you playing in the Little League. So. That was really great. Playoffs, I'm hoping, as you guys are hoping as well, I know, to secure second place. The roads lead through Oneida and Polk County. We've got those left. If we were to win those games and establish second place and meet York again in the playoffs, of course it'd probably be game 2.
Maybe 3,
two or three. Yeah. What would you do differently in an approach to play York?
Yeah, well, first of all, I tip my cap to York. They're a very, very good football team. I tip my hat to our guys. We played well that night. So as far as doing something differently, I would probably think that we would want to execute just a little bit better. It was still early. We're still making improvements. I think that we're blocking folks a little bit better now. We're leveraging people on defense a little bit better now. So I think that we would just continue to get better at those little things, and we talk about it all the time. Fundamental and technique win a lot of football games, and us learning to take care of the ball will help tremendously. And then kicking it to those skilled kids. I told the kids, I said, look, that call's on me. We probably should have put the ball on the ground or tried to place the ball in a different spot, because I don't know, a lot of people may not know that York, for the last 2 years in a row, have qualified for the state track tournament in the 4x100 relay. Yeah. And so they're running with kids from Nashville and Memphis and Chattanooga and Knoxville, and they've got some fast guys.
Oh, yeah.
So I was proud that we were able to hem them up the way we did. I just hope that we get that opportunity, and when we cross that bridge, we'll fix the things that need fixing, and we'll definitely look forward to playing them. But we got a long way to go. Yeah, starting this Friday.
Well, I know that a lot of my friends, of course, when we used to play York, it used to be, a lopsided. And I said, look, York's not the same team they were, in the 90s and early 2000s. They're a brand new team, 4th in the state, I believe. Right. Right now. Mm-hmm. So they are a tough team.
They are, very talented.
I'm confident in saying Bledsoe did play a good game against them, even though we come up short. It was still a good game.
Oh, absolutely.
They've been annihilating everybody.
They have been. I think they put up 74 points the next week.
Yeah. So
they're explosive.
Absolutely, yeah. It's fun to watch you guys play, and I too hope we get another shot at York.
Yeah,
I really do, and I know that's going to. Of course, I know we take it one game at a time.
That's right.
Do 1 week at a time.
Well, anything that you can use for motivation, and we always say, one play at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time, and I think all that's true. It's cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
But anything that we can use to motivate ourselves, because it gets monotonous sometimes, rep after rep, day after day. But hey, listen, if it motivates us to do better and get better and go further, then we want to use it.
All right.
Let's talk about now. Bradley's been getting at me for well over a decade about this word that he keeps using all the time, the phrase possum womp. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's really what you want to do.
You two didn't get together and do this beforehand.
No. Why don't we let Coach Tabor explain what the possum womp is? So I don't say anything, and you can't say that I had a hand in his response.
Well,
right now.
Well, for a while, for as long as I can remember, a possum womp is when you just really, put your foot down on another team and you really get a good win out of it. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong, but just the old timers always talk to me about, you got to watch at nighttime when you're walking up on your porch, because there could be possums around.
Right.
Next thing you know, boy, you might have a possum hanging onto your britches leg, and then you just got to kick and kick and kick and do everything you can to get that possum off. And so a possum womp is when you just kick the snot out of another team. At least that's what I've always
Yeah.
heard.
Have we settled that, Mike? Have we settled that?
No.
I can't believe it.
He has some unusual statements. Now let's let the two players talk.
Well, I will say one thing now. If one of your theme songs for your team is Eastbound and Down, then we got to get Possum Womp involved
somewhere
somehow.
Yes.
We need to get some signs put up or something.
God
that
help
might
us,
be a
there's
good
a
locker
Possum
room
Womp song
sign.
out
There you go. Put the possum womp on.
Well, let's let the players talk a little about what it means to be on that team. Let's let them in their own words tell it. I know you guys just want to get back to practice as soon as possible, but I think let's just hear what you have to say about what it means to be on a team.
Yeah, it means a lot. You just come out there and give it your all most of the time, and you just got to play for the person beside you, and it's like a brotherhood to each and every one on the team. You just got to play for one another, and it's a big deal.
Eventually, after going to so many practices and being so consistent for all 4 years, it's got to mean something too. You don't just want to show up every day and not love it. But I enjoy it, man. I love it.
Every road game this season, and this is a funny story we were talking about before we went on the air, is that the PA announcer would mangle your name. It would say Aggie or Aggie. We had one called Covard. That was a fun one.
I'm sitting over there doing the radio, and I'm just like, how do you mess that up? Agie's a rather common name. Saz is Covard. How in the world do you not know this? Right. I could see messing up, Sahaladin, last year. Yeah. I can see chopping that up. But these names, I think they'd say Smythe instead of Smith. Old English.
Smythe.
It's just some of these announcers. I'm like, how do you not know that?
Yeah.
And they even said it correct. A couple times at Teleco, but then right back to it. It's like, I don't know.
It's rather funny, and that really it's sort of like a recognition of your playing ability to get your name mangled like that sort of thing. Coach, you have homecoming this week, then you have a week off, I believe, before you have to go
Polk next week,
and Polk at home, and then at Gordonsville, and then at then Oneida, the last game of the season. It probably is that you can afford maybe a loss to Whitwell, but the rest you have to pretty much win out on to get a shot at.
Yeah, well, the most important games are the next game. And as far as playoff seeding, your most important games are going to be your region games. So the region games that will affect playoff seeding that we have left will be Polk County and Oneida. Now, when it comes to the tiebreaker issue, then you need to win as many of the other games as you can. And so again, that brings you back to the most important game being the next game. So we're really looking forward to Friday. And when you were talking to these guys a while ago and just asking them about being part of the football team, this is something that we've started since I've been here, and we do it every year, and we've got it going this week. So our seniors will have their senior talks, and we call it the BC Talks, Senior BC Talks. And they're going to talk about what the BC means to them. It's that's a logo that we have all over our school. It's on our shirts, It's on our helmets, it's on midfield, and I really don't want to get into what all has been said in the past, but these guys really, it gets emotional a lot of times. Those guys will get up there. We've had some guys they get excited, or some have shed tears, and they're just and I think that helps us too. So when you were talking about being able to bring community together, we welcome alumni back a lot. We've had several that's come by practice. We've had several former players that come back by. We do devotions every Friday after our pregame meal. We've had former players. We've got a former player coming back this Friday to do our devotion. We've had several come in and talk with the team before we have team meals, maybe on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night. So we really welcome. And it doesn't have to be necessarily a football alumni, but just people that are, supportive of Bledsoe County High School. It's such a great community to coach in, but these guys do a great job. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have players like Sam and Jace and what they bring to the table, and I look forward to listening to these guys Thursday after practice.
Coach, what would you like to have done in the future that would benefit Bledsoe County football?
Carry it outside.
Maybe alterations to the stadium or something, some physical things that you want.
Those decisions are not really mine, and we talk about it. We've been blessed over the last few years to have new equipment and new things done with our practice field equipment and our weight room and uniforms and those. So I'll let those money makers or decision makers help with those decisions. And what we want to try to do is continue to strive to get better as a football team, because I don't mind saying it. Our goal is to win a state championship at some point. That is our goal, and we're not afraid of it. We talk about it all the time. We need to be confident in what we do. That's one thing that we, believe it or not, we have to work on that every year, especially when I first got here. I don't think there was a lot of confidence from our players at times, and so we've told them the harder you work and the more that you have to go through, the more confident you're going to be. And believe you now, we put them through it sometimes. I promise you I'm not their favorite person on a daily basis, but we learn to respect each other, and I respect these guys' work ethic. So, not from necessarily a material standpoint, but we want to win a state championship at some point. That is the ultimate goal.
Well, that's what it takes. I mean, that's where it starts. You've got to have that desire to do it. And one thing I like about this, you guys having the senior talks and things like that, that's if you're underclassmen, see you guys are so passionately involved and it means so much to you, that's motivation to them, and they carry that on. So I've been able to be a part of those talks sometimes on the devotionals and things like that in the past, but those are great things. And as far as tradition is concerned, that's something that definitely builds into the whole dynamic of a team and a community, is when everyone's drawn together like that. So you guys have done a fine job, and I really like watching you guys play on Friday nights.
Absolutely.
And who knows, maybe someday I'll get to watch you play on Saturday sometime or something. You never can tell.
You never know.
That's right.
Coach, I'll tell you something. I've been doing this announcing since 1999. That's when he was playing high school football, at Bledsoe County.
Oh.
And I will tell you this, in all honesty, you've been here the past 5 years and have made it the most fun to do a broadcast. And I have Bradley Hargis here, who needles me good about just about everything. And of course, Bradley knows college football. He has that thing, but you have made it most fun, and you've been most cooperative when I've talked to you post game. I always didn't do the right questions. But I'll tell you something right now. You have made it most fun, and you have been most cooperative in what we've been trying to do for you, Coach.
We appreciate, Mikey, what you and Bradley do, and the radio station and BTC, and anything that we can do to help our program. And everybody wants to talk about a brand now, but Bledsoe County High School is important to this community, not just in football, but it's the hub of this community. There's so many events that we have that draw so many people, and football, at least a minimum of 5 Friday nights a year, will host a home game with a lot of people there, and everybody looks forward to it. I mean, people talk about it, so it's an important deal. So we appreciate what you do. There's no doubt, and a lot of people listen. And I'll have people come up to me, hey, we heard the interview on the radio, or we couldn't go to the game, but we heard the replay on the radio.
We appreciate that very much, Coach, and we're just so glad that you are here, and you 36 wins. You're in 4th place, right behind Bradley's old coach, Dickie Brown, and probably within 3 or 4 years, you might even surpass the tops in wins. But thank you, Coach, for being here again. We appreciate you being here, coming here, taking the time, and you too. Thank you very much for being here and showing us what Bledsoe County football is about. Friday night, we're going to have the homecoming game. That will be at Bledsoe County. They'll have the pregame homecoming ceremonies at 6:30, and don't worry, the halftime will not be as long as it was at Tellico Plains last week. Oh, that was a fun one.
Long one, yeah.
And that was a fun one. Anyway, we'll have the broadcast for you starting at about 6:40. We'll have the kickoff at 7 p.m. And if you can't come to the game, listen to it on WAT AM 110. And again, thank you, Coach, for being here. And when we come back, we will have, of course, go to other things in the sporting world, including baseball playoffs about to resume in Major League Baseball, college football, and pro football. As you're watching the Mike and Bradley Sports Scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. And while you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs, so what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Okay, we are back, and we want to thank, of course, Coach Tabor and his two-star players for coming on. Of course, all the players on that team are star players for coming in for the first segment. We appreciate him taking the trouble of coming in there. And again, Bradley, I think that was very nice of him.
Oh, yeah.
And he basically laid out what his philosophy was and that sort of thing, and we are grateful for that. Well, we're going to go now to the Major League Baseball playoffs. I think this is the last week of the regular season. The Braves, unfortunately, have clinched the National League East for the 6th straight year.
I'm having trouble in my elbow.
Oh, you poor baby.
I've got bursitis or something from all the chopping I've been doing this year. And I have to put some anti-inflammatory cream on it and put a little wrap around it on the nights the Braves play.
We'll contact Deion Sanders at Colorado and see if he can help you there. But anyway, the Braves, of course, have clinched the East. They are going, I believe they'll have home field position throughout the playoffs, hopefully leading to the World Series. Who else has won their divisions and who will be in the playoffs?
Well, clinched the divisions. It's Atlanta, Dodgers, and Milwaukee. They've all clinched. Philadelphia has well, not so they're clinched their division, but they've clinched a playoff berth. Atlanta's the only one that's clinched the division, I believe, and maybe Los Angeles. But your wild card teams, Philadelphia's clinched the wild cards, so they're in. They punched their ticket. Arizona and Chicago Cubs, they are one game away from each other as far as being that.
They get down to a playoff.
They're one game away from each other, whether it be what seeding. But that rounds it out. Miami is, of course, they're a half a game, back from Chicago. So they or Cincinnati with 5 games remaining. If something happens, that could be shook up a little bit. But we know Philadelphia's in. Okay. We know Milwaukee's in. We know Los Angeles is in, and we know Atlanta is in.
Okay. Well, The Yankees, however, unfortunately finished dismal. In fact, they played to it near a near empty stadium in the last couple of games, and obviously that's how disappointed the Yankee fans. Usually they're at the top or about at the top, but they're having one of those bad years. It happens.
Well, this is going to be one of the first years in a long time that we've not had a Yankees represented and Boston represented, because those are usually two of the best teams historically in the AL East. This year you've got Baltimore. I mean, with the young farm system they have, the talent that they have is outstanding, and they have clinched the division, plus clinched the playoff berth. Obviously, Texas hasn't clinched yet, but a playoff berth. But they are in if it were to end right now as a 2 seed. Minnesota, they've clinched a playoff berth, and Tampa Bay and Toronto and Houston will round that out. The Yankees, Seattle and New York Yankees are just outside of that. There's 5 games left. The Yankees are 5.5 games back. So there's no way. There's no way they can make it.
Catch up unless
Seattle
comes down.
Seattle could still jump ahead of Houston. I don't see that happening, but Houston has to play Seattle for 2 more games, I believe. So a lot can happen there. But either way, if it goes right now, Braves. If it ends today, the Braves and the Dodgers, Orioles and the Rangers will have a bye in the first round. Your wild card teams will be playing. It'll be Cubs and Milwaukee, and then it'll be Arizona and Philadelphia. And in the American League, you'll have Houston playing the Twins, and then you'll have the Blue Jays playing the Tampa Bay Rays to see who will go in to the second round and play those division leaders. So it's going to be interesting. And something else that I've got to mention. That is an outstanding accomplishment.
What?
I mean, you're looking at your pitching leaders. The Braves, Spencer Strider, with 19 wins, leads the majors. Matt Olson, Braves first baseman, 53 home runs, leads the majors. Matt Olson also leads the major leagues in runs batted in with 134. And Acuna, who's also the Braves right fielder, leads the major leagues in hits with 211. Acuna, speaking of him, is the only player to be joined into the 40-60 club. And what that means, having 40 home runs and 60 stolen bases. So it used to be an accomplishment to have a 30-30 season.
30 season, but yeah.
It used to be an accomplishment then. A 40-40 season was crazy.
It's crazy
to have it.
Yeah.
But now you've got guys who are 40 plus, almost 50, 40, 60. Acuna. It's possible with 5 games that remain that I don't think he'll hit enough home runs to get 50, but he's got 68 stolen bases.
Not bad.
With 5 games remaining. So it is very possible that Acuna could be the first not only to get a 40-60, but a 40-70 season, and that would be crazy as far as a baseball fan to see someone accomplish that feat is amazing. Again, 40-60 is great in and of itself, but 30-30 used to be the standard, and now that's how the game has changed so much as it has went along. But again, Acuna right now, he has like 41. He hit his 41st home run. Last night. So he may hit 9 home runs in 5 games, but that's going to be tearing it up pretty good.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening. But he's definitely able to get that 70 with 5 games and needs 2 stolen bases. So that's going to be great to see that if he does it.
Well, I heard one time, this is after Hank Aaron broke Babe Ruth's home run record, and I watched that on TV. By the way, it was such a historic thing. They deliberately kept him out of one game so that he could break it in Atlanta, and he did. And someone said, "Oh, they'll never break Hank Aaron's record." What happened? About some 30, 40 years later, I think it was Mark McGwire who broke it, or somebody else.
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds broke that. And they said, like I said, anything has happened. You could do like Roger Maris. They got, he broke Babe Ruth's 60 homers in a year season, and they got mad at him because he broke the Babe's record. That's how
Yeah, well, he hit 61.
Yeah, he's
And that-
61.
Hit 61 to break the record,
Yeah.
and then you had the year, I think it was back in the early 2000s, that's where Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire
Yeah.
were battling out.
Yeah.
Mark McGuire ended up hitting 70-something
Yeah.
home runs that year. And, of course, Barry Bonds did break the record. You know, and I'm an old-fashioned baseball fan, and whether you're for or against the use of steroids in baseball, that's up to you. I do believe that if you use those performance-enhancing drugs, that your record should not speak for themselves
Yeah.
or anything.
Yeah.
But you can still play.
You still play.
Let them play. If they
Yeah.
want to do that and ruin their lives and ruin their bodies, that's up
their
to them.
business, yeah.
But if you look back when Barry Bonds played for the Pirates, he was a scrawny little thing.
Yeah.
He goes to the Giants, and it's almost like in one season he gained like 80 pounds of
80
muscle.
pounds of muscle.
And had, even though he did use steroids, and it's just something that my people who are against steroids don't really bring out, but even if you do use performance-enhancing drugs, you still got to make contact with the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be the strongest person with the heaviest swing in the majors.
But if you can't connect on that
if you don't connect, you're not going to do anything.
That's right.
So there's still, even though you are juiced, your muscles are larger, and your bat's faster, you've still got to have that eye coordination. You've still got to have that talent to make contact with the ball. So, you know, the baseball today is live and die by the home run.
Yeah.
Small ball is a thing of the past almost.
Yeah.
You hardly ever see bunts. You hardly ever see squeeze bunts. You hardly ever see, you know, the hit and runs like you used to. It's just everybody lives and dies by the long ball. And even if Barry Bonds did break that record for Hank Aaron, there's going to be a little asterisk beside his
Yeah,
name
it's always going to be that
for
asterisk.
the rest of his career.
Yeah.
Same way with Mark McGuire, same way with Roger Clemens, same way with Sammy Sosa.
And Roger Maris.
You know, all of those guys are going to have that asterisk because of the use of steroids.
Roger Maris's asterisk was that he did it because the season was longer. It was, back then, it was considered Babe Ruth. You know, of course, records are broken, but, you know, there's one record that probably will never be broken, is that shutting out every opponent during the college football season. The last team that did that was in '39, and that was Tennessee. They shot at every opponent in 10 regular season games. They lost to USC in the Rose Bowl in 1940. But they said, you'll never see that in college football anymore. A team shutting out every opponent. It just was not anymore. You can't do it anymore. But, you know, the thing about it is that, this sort of thing, you look at pro baseball, you look at pro football, you look at this thing. It's all about the money. All it is money. You know, it's like like Joe Namath, when he signed with the New York Jets in 1964, signed for $400,000. That was phenomenal. And I never heard about $1 million player until the 1980s, when the guy, we're signing this kid for $1 million, and I kept thinking, I said, $1 million. I see like this. That's when football players and pro baseball players made $15,000, $20,000 tops, except for the big stars. Now you got $11 million, $37 million, $74 million, $100 million.
Well, when Namath, you mentioned him signing with the Jets. You know, he signed for $400,000. That is $350,000 less than the league minimum right now in the NFL. So what you can go to the NFL and not even be a starter, but make the roster, and you're guaranteed $750,000 a year just to sit the sidelines and be ready in case somebody needs you on kickoff or something. You know, and if you're on the practice squad, I think the practice squad is, you know, somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000, depending upon your talent level. And I'm thinking, I would, you know, clean up cups on the sideline for $100,000 a year. You know, I would sweep the dugout and sunflower seeds up, you know, at a baseball game for $100,000 a year. That'd be great for me. You know, get to meet those guys and be around them and experience that. So. But yeah, it is ridiculous how much money is funneled into these sports teams and players, you know. And what really gets me sometimes is when you're doing these ball games and the stadiums are selling out, concerts are selling out, but the government comes around and tries to convince us that we're in a recession and don't have much money. And I'm thinking, you know, it's been like this for the past several years, and I'm not saying who's in there now is what's caused this or what's not caused this. I don't think it comes from Washington, to be honest with you. But when you're selling out stadiums, and concerts, and ball games, and all of these things, friends, there's still money out there.
There's still money out there.
There's still money, and if a football team or a baseball team can pay a player $100+ million a year to play a game, there's money out there.
Yeah.
So it may be our smaller towns like Bledsoe. Maybe we're feeling a pinch a little more than they are, but the money's still there, and I will be worried once those stadiums are half full.
Yeah.
Especially on marquee games, or when those baseball games, stadiums are half full.
Yeah.
Not counting Oakland, because Oakland's attendance is ridiculous, which is why they're moving to Las Vegas, I believe, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're moving to Las Vegas.
It's very interesting to see how the game has changed over the years. You mentioned Roger Maris and years like that. It would be difficult for those guys to play in today's game.
I was reading something. I have a book at home called Neyland. The history of the stadium. In 1935, you could buy a ticket to a UT football game for 50 cents. That's 50 cents. Wow. All that. Now, what is it? $70 a shot?
At least.
A pop.
And that's in the nosebleed section.
That's in the nosebleed section. And it's like, and that sort of thing. I used to remember when I went in the A's, it was $16 a ticket. And that was just about anywhere you
can't get a Coke and a barbecue sandwich in this stadium now for $16.
You can't get that sort of thing, and that in that sort of thing. Okay, when we come back, we're going to talk about college football, upcoming college football. We're going to talk a little about the high school football season, which we alluded to earlier, and of course, just about anything else that might come along here as you're watching the Mike and Bradley sports scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative Channel 18.
At Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter, we're committed to be better. Better prices, better vehicles, a better experience. Your Jason Lewis Dunlap Supercenter understands that you rely on us to provide you with the highest quality of used vehicles. With over 350 pre-owned cars, trucks, and SUVs. So what are you waiting for? Let us show you a better experience with the Jason Lewis Automotive family. Come visit us at Rankin Avenue here in Dunlap or on the web at dunlapsupercenter.com.
Come and see the beautiful Sequatchie Valley. And while you're here, visit the Dunlap Mercantile. We have a full line of hats from Resistol, Stetson, Charlie One Horse, American Hat Makers, GG Pip, Greeley hats from the TV show Yellowstone, and a full line of vintage hats. Make sure to check out our hat bar where we can clean, shape, and customize a hat just for you, right here at the Dunlap Mercantile.
You need a bank that you can depend on. Here at Citizens Tri-County Bank, we have the most dependable staff that you will ever meet. Call in, you will not get an automated attendant, you'll get a person. But on the other side, we have all the technology that anyone would need, from apps to online banking to bill pay. So please come and grow with us as we're about to celebrate our 50th year. We are the only community bank you will ever need.
Okay, we are back. We got a little bit of news for you. The Bledsoe County Middle School football team will be at Dunlap tomorrow night in the playoffs. It's not a championship game. This will be a playoff game. We don't know who exactly the opponent might be. We'll have to assume it's Sequatchie County, but that'll be tomorrow night at Dunlap. We do encourage the fans to show up for that, as to try to see if they can urge the Warriors on to a championship season. And of course, that's very important to everybody else, because the middle school players in a few years will be high school football players of the future. Now let's go to college football. Of course, a lot of things going on this week. Of course, Texas A&M will be playing Alabama. That'll be an interesting game. Texas A&M who upset Auburn. Tennessee will be hosting South Carolina in the dark mode, wearing black jerseys on a Saturday night to play South Carolina. And you remember, is that?
I initially was not a fan of that, nor was I a fan of the smoke gray uniforms. But last year, the smoke gray uniforms, when they had the helmet to match, loved it. The dark mode, I wasn't a fan of when it first came out. But now they're pretty cool.
Yeah.
Because the helmet matches everything. That was the only thing that stood out to me was off, because you had gray, white and orange. Or you had orange, black, white and orange. I'm like, it just didn't go together.
What
Now
it
you
was
got black.
You know, in 2009, of course, Tennessee played South Carolina, and they surprised the fans wearing the dark black jerseys, which, by the way, was what Tennessee wore before they went to all orange, black jersey with orange stripes. And of course, MB Banks, of course, the reason they got that was because the provision of the American daisy that was growing on a hill on campus, and they decided to go to all orange. So that's why you're wearing an all orange, because a lot of teams wore black in those days. They just had white stripes, red stripes, whatever their team's colors were. So that's why they started to wear them. I think is that the dark mode, they wore that, ironically, on Halloween against South Carolina, and Tennessee just whomped the Gamecocks that way. And remember, Tennessee fans have that game circled on their calendar because they remember what happened last year.
You almost said possum womp.
I said womp. There's just not.
You almost said it. I could see that you were debating in your mind.
I didn't say it. No.
Whether or not to say that or not.
Yeah, whatever.
By the way, Alabama played Mississippi State.
Yeah.
Saturday. Texas A&M plays Arkansas.
No, Texas A&M plays Alabama this week, because what it is, Tennessee's off next week, and then they play Texas A&M.
There's the schedule.
All right, let's look at the schedule. Yeah.
Alabama plays Mississippi State at Mississippi State. Texas A&M hosts Arkansas. Tennessee obviously hosts South Carolina. Florida, I mean, they're
a misprint. It's got to be a misprint.
Florida's playing at Kentucky. Georgia's at Auburn. Missouri's at Vandy. So, I mean, there's a lot of potential upset games this week, because Florida's ranked. I mean, Florida's ranked number 24.
They play Kentucky.
23, I'm sorry.
And
they play Kentucky, at Kentucky.
That should be an interesting game, because, Kentucky beat Florida last year. And that was not a very pretty thing to look at. Of course, Vanderbilt in Missouri, Vanderbilt almost beat Missouri last year, as I recall, at Columbia. And, of course, Tennessee last year was playing LSU, and they just hammered the Bayou Bengals at Baton Rouge, where they wore the gray jerseys, Smokey Jerry jerseys, as you recall. But South Carolina, Tennessee is a 2-touchdown favorite against the Gamecocks. So I don't.
With the way the Gamecocks are playing, the way the Tennessee is playing, I'm not really sure how that works out. I'm not saying that I'm not pulling for Tennessee. I don't think they're going to win. I think it's going to be a really good game.
It should be a good game.
I think if it's going to come down to, number one, can our defense perform and hold Spencer Rattler down?
Yeah.
Number two, can our offense start clicking? It's easy for us to look at a game like Tennessee versus San Antonio.
Yeah, Texas San Antonio.
And say, oh, well, we finally got it together. That's wonderful. But when you're playing a team like Florida, South Carolina, basically any SEC team, that's your real test. I mean, that's your
test right there.
That's your the proof is in the pudding right there. Your rubber meets the road. You better do something with it. So I would absolutely love nothing more than to see Tennessee put the possum womp on South Carolina in Neyland on Saturday.
Absolutely.
But South Carolina is a very, very dangerous team.
Absolutely. But the problem with South Carolina, their offensive line seems to allow Spencer Rattler to get hurried, throwing rushes and sacked and all that. Now Texas A&M lost its starting quarterback for the season, so obviously their big weapon is missing. Now Texas A&M has to come to Knoxville to play the Vols at the 2 weeks after South Carolina, because there's an off week in that. But the thing about it is that as Bear Bryant said on any given Saturday, any team can beat your team.
Oh yeah.
That's all there is. Mississippi State, you know, they've lost badly, but they are still considered a dangerous team to go up against, and Alabama knows it. You know, Alabama knows that it's a very good team, and you know, with the things going on with the college football landscape changing, we just don't know how it's going to end up shaking out with all the conference realignments and additions and all that. It doesn't. It seems to me that college football is changing, and not for the good.
I would never have believed that I would have ever been able to say Power 4 conference in the NCAA instead of a Power 5.
You're not going to have the Mountain West Conference as a Power 5.
No.
Neither you have
Pac-12 is gone.
Yeah, that's history.
Mountain West they're not going to be a Power 5. They don't have the talent.
They don't have the teams either.
They don't have the money. Or teams.
Now you could say the AAC could possibly be a potential Power 5 team. Could be. But you know, they got some good teams in that right now. But the problem again is like this. Will the SEC stop at 16? Will they go add 2 to 4 more teams to make it 20 teams? We don't know. It's just how you look at it. You know, you would certainly want Stanford or Cal in the SEC. That's basically.
Well, I think you mentioned that, and from what I've read article-wise, there's a buzz right now because the deciding vote in the ACC to allow Stanford and Cal to come in was NC State.
Right.
NC State initially said they're not going to do it.
No.
But last minute, they flopped. They flipped plumb over.
They had to give them something.
So, Florida State and Clemson are, from what I've read, irate at the ACC and at NC State. So, I'm not saying they won't out. But I'm not saying that it's not going to be a stretch for Florida State to want to join the SEC and Clemson to probably make a pitch for it or make a pitch to join the Big Ten.
Absolutely. You remember this, that most SEC teams have 2 teams from one state. You know, Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Georgia. Georgia's had Georgia Tech. You know, Florida would probably have Florida State. You would have. If I wanted to have a team back in the SEC, Georgia Tech. Because they used to be in the SEC until 1964. And there's a story about Bill Curry, when he was scouting for the Baltimore Colts after his playing days were over with, he was scouting in Alabama practice. Bear Bryant was the coach, and Bear Bryant told him, come up on the tower. And when you're invited on the tower, you don't pass up the chance. The coaching tower, this big tower above the field. Maybe that's what Bledsoe County needs, that coaching tower out there. Anyway, he comes up there and he said, I know Georgia Tech's talking about going back in the SEC, and I said, I would say yes, I would sponsor him in there. And Bobby Dodd, who's the athletic director, said, we're not going to really go back to the SEC, but thanks for asking, you know, that sort of thing. Because Georgia Tech is SEC, really, in a way. That I don't think they were ever comfortable in the ACC.
Well, I mean, I think they got out of it, obviously, because their
scheduling.
Yeah, the schedule. You have more options to have a victory in the ACC as opposed to the SEC. So, you know, but you know, you've got teams in the southeastern area of the state. I mean, of the United States that could potentially be an SEC team. You know, I know nobody wants Miami, but Miami, you know, they're in the southeast. Yeah. I mean, you know, they're almost in a world of their own down there at the tip of Florida. Florida State, we mentioned them. Clemson, mentioned them. Duke, North Carolina, they're in the southeast.
You got Memphis.
You've got Memphis. You've got Tulane.
Cincinnati.
You've got, well, Cincinnati's more.
Well, they're close
Ohio,
enough. They're on the border of Ohio.
Louisville, they're in Kentucky.
Yeah. West Virginia.
You know, well, West Virginia, Virginia Tech. I mean, all those would be considered southeast. I mean, because
even University of Houston.
If you're judging by Civil War division.
Yeah.
You know,
nothing about the Ohio.
That's going to open the door to a lot of teams.
You have Maryland. Maryland also could be.
I'm more if you go by that standard, yes.
Yeah.
I'm more focused on the, you know, North Carolina, Kentucky, Arkansas, and below. Georgia Tech, Tulane, Florida State, Miami, Clemson, Memphis. I just don't understand why we're going west.
Yeah.
You know, getting Missouri, Texas A&M, getting Oklahoma, Texas. You know, it's a matter of time before, you know, somebody makes a pitch for Oklahoma State.
Yeah, Oklahoma State.
You know, or Baylor or TCU. I mean, where does it end?
Yeah.
Where does it end?
Well, how about Slippery Rock?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like this, Slippery or Delaware. Blue Hens.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. everybody, I could see the Delaware coming down for an SEC game, and everybody said, let's have some chicken for dinner. You know?
Well, you know, I mean, as far as that goes, there's the Delta State down in
Delta
Mississippi.
State, yeah. Grambling.
Grambling. They call themselves the Fighting Okra.
Okras.
Because they have the green helmet, green jerseys, green pants, and they said look like pieces of okra out there. So Fighting Okra.
North Texas State, Grambling.
They're actually called the Statesmen, but they call themselves the Fighting Okra.
Yeah, but the North Texas State, the Mean Green. Of course, you have Grambling. You know, that's Eddie Robinson's. Was a coach there for many years and was a big friend with. He actually surpassed Bear Bryant in win totals and that sort of thing. Well, let's talk a little about the high school football. We have, of course, had the coaches here earlier, coaching players here earlier, discussing that. But let's discuss a little bit about the high school football season. Of course, we're getting to the 7th game of the season, the stretch run, to use a baseball term, and of course, Bledsoe hosts Whitwell 6-0. And they're about as good as that state championship team they had last year.
I'm going to disagree with you on that.
I said about. I say they were as good.
They do. I'm not saying that Whitwell doesn't have the talent. Man, they do. They have the talent. They have the ability. I mean, the 6-0 record speaks for itself. However, they've not played the meat of their schedule either. They've played, you know, Sail Creek. They've played Copper Basin, they play Lookout Valley. Those teams are, you know, historically bad.
Well, Sail Creek's not bad.
Sail Creek's not, you know, is the exception, but Lookout Valley, Copper Basin, and teams like that. I mean, Whitwell right now leads the region standings at 3-0, only because South Pittsburgh's only played 2 region games. South Pittsburgh is 2-0. Both teams are 6-0, and it's really going to come down to, of course, Chattanooga Prep. They're 1-1, 2-4. They're in the region as well. They've already beat Sail Creek, Lookout Valley, and Copper Basin, but Whitwell is ranked number 5 in the state in 1A. So it could be interesting to see what they bring up the valley here to Bledsoe County Friday night. But is Whitwell a good ball team? Sure, I'll buy that. I'll say yes. They are a good ball team. They are, you know, performing very well this year. Are they as good as they were when they won the state title 5 years ago? And the answer is no. Because when they won that state title 5 years ago, the team was loaded, absolutely loaded with seniors. And every one of them was a star. I think 4 or 5 of those starters went to D1 schools, and others went, you know, to other colleges, smaller colleges. But I don't believe the talent level is the same. But it's not going to be an easy win for Bledsoe County. They're going to have to come in and play some football and execute, as we were talking about earlier, hit on all cylinders and keep pouring it on, because Whitwell's a dangerous team. I mean, again, they're 6-0. You never know what can happen.
Because they have to play South Pittsburgh at the end of the season. That's going to probably decide the region title right there. Of course, Bledsoe County after that has a week off. Then they'll host Polk County. Be on the road at Gordonsville, and then we'll finish at home against Oneida. Now, Bledsoe County, if they beat Whitwell, they could finish 8-2.
Sure.
Would not be a bad way to get things going. Sequatchie County, of course, starting to implode a little bit, I'm afraid.
Well, they had a good week last week. I mean, they beat Cofield 31-14 last week, but that is Cofield, a single A team. But Cofield's number 6 in the state, single A. So they're not a pushover either. I mean, they did drop 2 in a row
South Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh
Marion.
kind of lowered the boom on 29-7, and Marion beat them last week 45-0. You know, that was at Marion County.
At Marion County.
So you know that leaves a bad taste in their mouth. But Sequatchie, they play Fayetteville, you know, Friday night at Sequatchie. So, I mean, no, I'm sorry, they play at Fayetteville.
At Fayetteville.
But, you know, Sequatchie, they have a chance to go 8-2 as well.
8-2.
I mean, because they've got Fayetteville left, Community, Grundy. I'm not sure who their last game is, but they can definitely be 8-2 by the end of the season. And if that is the case, Sequatchie was ranked as high as number 4 in 3A not that long ago, and so they're, according to this, they're number 4. According to Coach T, according to Max Preps, they're still number 4.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make
that's schedule wise.
That doesn't make that first season loss look near as bad when you are playing, you know, state ranked opponents.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see Sequatchie do very well as long as they're not playing us.
Well, they're not going to be playing us, no doubt, after this season, that sort of thing. Of course, the middle school, the junior varsity played Monday night. I forgot to ask the coach the score on that, but talking to him about that. But you look at it this way right now. These players, you heard the players talk about what it's like to be on the football team. That's similar to probably your philosophy, what you felt like. You're part of that team, in that sort of thing, and you live and you die with every play that you make, and that sort of thing. And I haven't played football, so in other words, I don't really have a total concept of what it is, but I understand exactly where they're coming from, and that sort of thing. And Coach Tabor, he came here, he was going to win. He goes from 3 wins to 8 to 11 to 6 to 7, and he's at 4 right now. He's 36 wins. He's gotten 36 wins faster than any coach in Bledsoe history. That's an important thing, and the community is behind him. In fact, he told me the first year is that the families would actually come to him and say they'll reschedule their vacation so their kids can be there to practice. That tells you something.
Oh yeah,
right, tells you something right there.
Sure.
Okay, well, this will do it for us here. And of course, we are glad that you are here, and we hope that you enjoyed this segment of the Mike and Bradley sports scene. Bradley, you have some final words to say?
Well, and going back to the Bledsoe-Whitwell game, come out, wear your pink on Friday night. It's homecoming. We're going to need the crowd to be involved, and especially with a team like Whitwell coming to town 6-0. So, I mean, again, it's not going to be one of those... they're not the same Whitwell team they were 5 years ago, but they are a good ball team, and Bledsoe County is going to have to execute very well. And at the very least, that will help them on tiebreakers if they were to, if somebody drops a game here or there for playoff seeding. So get out there, support your Warriors, and cheer them on. Wear your pink Friday night, and be ready to go for the pink out. And as always, my final sign-off tagline, I guess I say, is go blue, go Braves, and go Big Orange.
Okay, like I said, Friday night's homecoming on the Hill. They'll have a homecoming pregame festivities starting at 6:30. They'll have a halftime where they'll have the homecoming queen crown. Hopefully it won't be as long as it was last week in Stellico Plains. I don't think it will be. And of course, again, that game, well, if you cannot make it to the game, we're going to have broadcast that live on WAT with pregame starting at 6:40 p.m. and then the kickoff at 7 p.m. And we hope that you will join us for that as well. We'll see you in 2 weeks from now. We're going to hopefully we'll have a special guest from Albert Roberts. And so good day, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks as you're watching the Mike and Bradley sports scene here on Bledsoe Telephone Channel Cooperative 18th 70th anniversary of Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative. Congratulations to them.
Brought to you by Bledsoe Telephone Cooperative in the Sequatchie Valley.